Hey guys, well as promised, I'm going to be doing the best horror remakes in this video. So, got my notes for this one too, and let's get started. So, the first one I chose was Silent Night, which is the remake to Silent Night, Deadly Night. So, this was a pretty good horror Christmas movie, better than the Black Christmas remake. While it was lacking some story, but however, it had some good performances from Jamie King and Malcolm McDowell. The gore effects were like the highlight of the movie. They were very good. And I also do like that they did keep up with some of the spirit of the original movie, that the killer Santa Claus in this one is, of course, killing naughty people. And it was just a fun movie overall. Alright. The next one is the remake of Halloween, the Rob Zombie Halloween. Now, I know this one is a very debatable one, because I know there's people who don't like this one, but there's people who do like this one. But the way I see it, it's kind of like one of those, you either like it or you hate it. If you compare it to the original movie, then it's doomed. But as its own movie, it's not bad. It really isn't. It was a new take on Halloween, a new take on the Michael Myers character for a new generation. And heck, it was better than the Halloween Resurrection movie that just basically ruined the original series. As well as also, I did like Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. And I also do like, while there wasn't really mystery to Michael Myers in this one, but the thing was, Rob Zombie was trying to do a realistic approach to this one. So, and that's fine too. It was fine to be realistic. Because, heck, doing it this way, you, saw in the mind of a psychopath. So, and that was fine. Well, I think I've dwelled on that one for a little bit. So, it's a worthy remake, and I recommend it, but Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, on the other hand, not a chance. The next one is the 90s remake of Night of the Living Dead, which was directed by Tom Savini and starred, what's his name? The actor who played Candyman. Tony Todd, the actor that played Candyman. So, he played Ben from the original movie. So, this was actually a pretty good remake. While it was very close to the original movie, but I did like that they made the Barbara character, instead of having her just sit her out for the entire movie, they made her badass. I did like that they changed the ending, didn't keep the ending of the original movie. And the acting was pretty good as well. I also did like some of the tributes to the original movie as well. And it was overall a good movie. Not the best, but it was good. Next one I chose is the remake of Fright Night. Now, I am a huge Fright Night fan. I liked the original movie. I liked the sequel to the original movie. I liked this remake. And there was also that straight-to-DVD remake, sequel, standalone sequel kind of movie, which I liked too. I liked all the Fright Night movies. Not one of them I hated. It's while there were things I did dislike in this remake, I didn't like that Peter Vincent was a magician, like Chris Angel ripoff magician. I also didn't really like that Evil Ed was barely in it. But the acting from Anton Yelchin as Charlie Brewster, what's his name? Colin Farrell as Jerry Dandridge were pretty good. I did like all the vampire effects, even though some of it was CGI, but it was good CGI though. I did like some of the nods to the original movie as well. And David Tennant, even though I wasn't too big of a fan of his Peter Vincent, I did think he did a good job of his acting as well. And heck, brought humor too. It had actually a good balance of humor as well. So it was funny as well as, so it kept the spirit of the original movie there. So it was modernized, but it kept the spirit. Another one I chose, since I put two bad Japanese horror remakes on the worst one, this one's actually one good one for this one. It's the remake of The Ring. So this one I really did like. It was a good PG-13 horror movie. There's not too many good PG-13 horror movies, but this was actually an exceptional one. I really liked the atmosphere in this one. Naomi Watts was pretty good in it. I also thought, like, you know, the look for the girl was pretty creepy looking. So I also did like the whole thing when they answer the phone says 7 days in a very creepy voice. So I really did like this one. I wasn't a fan of The Ring 2 though. I hear they're doing some kind of Ring reboot, some sort of like it's gonna be in 3D, which I look forward to seeing. The next is My Bloody Valentine 3D. So this one I actually saw twice in the theater. It was actually a very fun experience I had. Hence the reason why I saw it twice. The 3D in the movie was really good. The I liked, while they did do some nods to the original movie, I liked that they didn't, that also went to a different direction, did their own stuff, didn't make a carbon copy of the original movie. They were doing their own stuff. I did like Jensen Ackles. He actually did a very good performance, especially the end there when he was hallucinating Harry Warding. So, like, you know, it was basically just like, you know, all overall very fun time. One I really enjoyed a lot. And like the death scenes were just very over the top, very graphic. It was just really cool. The next one is the remake of The Hills Have Eyes. So like this one, basically a remake to a Wes Craven movie. Like, I really did like this one. Like, you know, while the story to this one was very similar, like it followed the original movie, however, changed stuff around, like, you know, gave the characters a little more development. They gave also changed the villains in this one, since in the original movie they were like, you know, kind of like these cannibals who live in the hills. While they of course are still cannibals in this one, but they also were like affected by radiation, so they're all deformed, very ugly looking. So I liked that they did something new with their villains in this one. And I also really liked the ending where the main guy like basically goes after them, fights back. Like that was just a very intense moment in the movie. So after this, there's remake of House on Haunted Hill. So this one was like, you know, unlike the remake of House of Wax, this one was actually a worthy remake to a Vincent Price movie. I liked how Jeffrey Rush actually looked like Vincent Price, even though I actually read this on IMDb. He wasn't trying to look like Vincent Price. He was actually trying to look like John Waters, but he ended up looking like Vincent Price, so the director wanted him to keep that look. So I like that whole thing. And just like, since I did say I did like in the remake of House of Wax, they did a little nod to Vincent Price by naming the character Vincent. In this one they did the same thing. They named Jeffrey Rush's character Stephen Price. So like, I did like this one was just a very fun movie. I did like the characters were pretty fun. The atmosphere, all the sets for the house were very well done. The ghosts attacking them right at the end there, while not being the greatest of CGI effects, but it was like, you know, a very cool moment, like, you know, a very good climax to the movie. And this one is another debatable one. It's Friday the 13th. Like, I know there's people who don't like this one because, like, they don't like that Jason was running. They didn't like that he kept a girl hostage by keeping her chained up in his basement. Excuse me. Well, I do admit, like, you know, yeah, that was basically out of character for him to do, to like keep hostages, because he never did that in the original series. But I didn't mind him running though, because that was something new at least. Like, you know, something we've never seen him do. We've seen him, like, you know, just basically walk. We've seen him like walk fast. That's kind of like running. We've also seen him teleport too, like he was doing in the 8th Friday the 13th. How he was like show up at one part of the ship, then to another part, and there was a part where like this guy's running from in an alley, runs right into a building, and all of a sudden he's right in the building right there, so he's just teleports right there. Derek Mears, I thought, did a pretty good job as Jason Voorhees. I also, while the characters were pretty over the top, but it was like, still made it pretty fun though, because gave me something to laugh at. I did like also the death scenes, like when he basically put this girl in a sleeping bag and held her over a fire. I liked the scene where he throws the axe. So overall, it was a fun movie, a good tributes to the original movies, and it was, for like any Friday the 13th fan, I think it was worth seeing. It's a fun movie. It's not the most original one, but it was fun. The next one is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Now this is one that scared me when I first saw it in the theater. Well, of course the original one was more scary and better overall. This one was actually a worthy remake. Like, it was doing something different but keeping some of the same story elements put in there. Like, it had some pretty good acting from the cast. Not so much of Jessica Biel, but Andrew Bernarski I thought was a pretty good Leatherface. Not as good as Gunnar Hansen, may he rest in peace, but he was good as his own Leatherface. I did like, of course, the creepy atmosphere, seeing Leatherface's basement hanging up with dead bodies. I also liked the chase sequences at the end. And I also liked how they were like making it look like it was an actual documentary as well, like with the beginning part was showing like all this crime footage that was like filmed by police, also showing at the end as well. So I liked it. The next one is the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Better than the remake of Day of the Dead for sure. Like, I really liked Ving Rhames. I thought this one he was badass in, unlike with the remake of Day of the Dead, where they didn't take advantage of the fact that they had him. While I understand it wasn't a sequel to this one, I did like the mall settings. I liked the beginning of the movie as well. This whole zombie outbreak, the main woman escaping her house and driving right to the mall. We're seeing all these zombies attacking all around. All this, basically an army of zombies outside of the mall. I also did like some of the humor as well. Like they shot a zombie looked like Jay Leno, a zombie looked like Burt Reynolds. They even said that a zombie looks like Rosie O'Donnell, but we didn't see it though. I also did like that the zombies ran in this one, even though I agree with what George A. Romero said, that dead things just shouldn't run. But I didn't really mind that too much. I also did like how they built like this kind of like this battle truck at the end, and they were escaping like in the water. So it was one of the better remakes, and out of all the George A. Romero of the Dead remakes, like we've had Night of the Living Dead remade a few times, Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead, this one is the best one. The remake of Dawn of the Dead. Next one is the remake of Evil Dead. Like, I actually thought this was one of the best remakes in a long time, as well as one of the best horror movies that came out back in 2013. I liked how, like, they did pay tribute to the original movie. However, they also were doing original stuff. Like, it wasn't friends going up to a cabin just for fun. It was them going up to a cabin to help the main girl because she had a very, very bad drug addiction. So it was a new story, new characters. I liked how none of the characters was named Ash in this one, because I just felt people will just try to compare this Ash to like the old Ash too much. So it was a good idea that they had to like not name one of the characters Ash. Instead, also they just put Ash's characteristics in the entire cast. So like they had like characters that did act dumb. There was character who like amputated her arm just like what Ash did. Also, characters acted badass as well. So that's basically all of Ash's characteristics around the cast. I also did like how they mainly used practical effects. Like most of the practical effects like sorry, most of the effects were practical and they didn't use too much CGI. There was only like maybe about 3, maybe 4 scenes that had CGI. While the rest of them, they actually did real things. They used real blood. They used prosthetics. Like they used magic tricks. That's what the director said they used. And because of that, it took them a long time just to make the movie since they were using practical effects instead of CGI. And I think I've. Oh, I also do. Who want to mention? I do also like the Ash vs. Evil Dead show. All right, so next one is the remake of The Blob. I actually did like the remake of The Blob more than the original movie because I liked how in this one The Blob was like fast moving. I also did like how we saw like people actually getting more eaten by the Blob, actually seeing them getting digested. Because like the Blob this in the original movie was like even though the original is a classic, I still like the original movie and all. Well, it was just basically you can tell how they did the effects. It was just a big bowl of jelly. Like this one, they used like puppet work, miniatures, and like I also do like how like all of them, like at the end the Blob was attacking the city. It was like a whole big massacre. Them trying to fight back, finding out that the Blob can't stand the cold. So that was just a really cool massacre at the end there. Excuse me. Yeah, sorry for burping. Alright, and the next one is the remake of The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. And this one's also another exceptional remake to a Vincent Price movie, even though this one's very different from the Vincent Price movie. Which is a good thing, like, be more original. Don't just copy the original movie altogether like they did with Psycho and Cabin Fever and The Omen. Do your own stuff. Like, I liked... like, Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis both did good performances in this one. I really liked the visual effects of, like, all the Fly, all the makeup effects on Jeff Goldblum when he was turning into the Fly. And, like, all the practical effects are very good. It was ahead of its time. Because this was an 80s movie, and it was ahead of its time. Very good effects that still hold up to this very day. Alright, and this one's going to be the last one. It's the number 1 one. And just like the worst ones I did, this one also ends in a tie between The Thing and Nosferatu the Vampire. So, like, I don't really see Nosferatu the Vampire on a lot of people's best remakes list, but I do see The Thing a lot, and for good reasons. Like, The Thing is technically the best remake of all time, but Nosferatu I actually thought was actually one of the best remakes too. And it's one that I feel has been forgotten about, doesn't get too much attention. And it should too, like, it was a remake to a silent movie, and they did very good at it. It was a very good art movie, very artistic looking. Also, I really liked all the cinematography. It was very beautiful to look at. The Thing, much like The Fly, was very original. Like, it didn't copy almost anything from the original movie. I mean, like, there were similarities, like it took place in an Arctic area, and the characters, like, find a alien creature, but other than that, it was very different, like a whole different alien altogether, like an alien that imitates its victims, basically trying to figure out who the Thing is. Kurt Russell was awesome, badass in the movie. All the practical effects were very good. Just like The Fly, it was also ahead of its time. Practical effects that hold up to this very day. There was a prequel made to it a couple of years back, which I think is pretty good. It's no masterpiece like this one was, but it was good. I mean, it was just an interesting movie, like interesting seeing like what takes place before that. Like, it takes place, I think it was like 4 days before The Thing. And Nosferatu the Vampire, I also want to talk about a little bit more as well. Like, the performances in that one were really good by the entire cast. I did like the music, the atmosphere. And since in the original Nosferatu movie, they weren't able to use the Dracula names, like, it did use the Bram Stoker novel as source material to be made, but because Bram Stoker's widow was still alive at the time, she owned the rights, so she wouldn't let them use the names of any of the Dracula characters. But in this one, since this one was made in the 70s, so they were able to obtain the rights at that point now, so all the characters were the names of the Dracula characters. We had, instead of Count Orlok, it was Count Dracula, and I also had Van Helsing in there as well. I also did like how they changed the ending as well, like the, instead of, in the original movie when he dies, he basically burns to death from the sun. In this one, like, instead of like being burned to death from the sun, he more like has like a reaction like he's being poisoned by the sun. And so like then Van Helsing, seeing him lying there lifeless, dead on the floor there, he wants to make sure that he is dead, so he takes a stake and rams it right through his heart. So I think, like, Nosferatu the Vampire is one of the better horror remakes, and The Thing is one of the best horror remakes of all time. So to me, it's a tie between those two. They're both very good, but very, very well done. Worth seeing by horror fans like me and all my viewers. If you haven't seen Nosferatu the Vampire, I recommend you check it out. I do own it on Blu-ray through the for the Shout Factory, Scream Factory lining. So that's a good way of seeing it. And I think that's all I gotta say. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed this video. And stay tuned for when I do the sequels ones, the worst sequels and the best sequels. Alright, and that's all. See ya.